Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday here in Melbourne, Australia. I am so excited to be back on the WunTV network. So, I am T. For those of you who don't know me, I am founder of Fitnesstoatee. I'm personal trainer, holistic health coach. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm originally from Zimbabwe. So, in terms of what I do, I train people all over the world, mainly online through the Fitnesstoatee mobile phone app. And I train mainly women, and they can access their exercise programs and nutrition plans through the app. And of course, above all, obviously the physical side is very important. I also really make sure that they're supported mentally and emotionally, and really looking at them from a holistic point of view. I'm also a model, and I also run the Elizabeth Chanakira Cancer Trust, which is a charity that I founded after my mom passed away from cancer in 2010. And what we do is we support underprivileged cancer patients with medications, school fees for their children, and healthy food hampers. So that's a little bit about me. Make sure that you subscribe, like the WunTV network, follow, and yes, just make sure you keep tuning into all the exciting shows that are on the network. So today I am super excited and honored to have my very first guest on the show. Her name is Mangaliso Brenda Nyoni. She is from Zimbabwe originally. She's 35. Trust me, you won't even believe she's 35. She looks amazing. And she is from Zimbabwe originally, in Melbourne. I think I said that before. And some of you may have seen her on the Fitnesstoatee pages if you follow my work on Facebook or Instagram. So you'd have followed her fitness journey, which has been absolutely inspiring. And she's also a very good friend of mine. We met through my work, but over the years, we've become really close friends. And so some of you might see us online dancing away, some serious dance moves, y'all. I love building relationships with women, with clients. I'm really honored to have built such a good friendship with her. She's also got a very inspirational personal story, which you're going to hear as well. So I am going to start and introduce Brenda and let her talk a little bit more about herself, just so you have a little bit more of a snippet. She's also a very experienced counselor. She's been a counselor for 11 years, and she's currently employed at Deakin University here in Melbourne. So Brenda, welcome to the show. Hello.
Oh my God. I'm so excited. I can't believe you have asked me to be a part of your show. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So
we are so happy to have you here. It's our honor. So tell us a bit more about yourself and your journey from when you left Zimbabwe up until now.
So I left Zimbabwe in 2004. So I was 19 before I turned 20. Arrived in Melbourne, have always lived in Melbourne, love Melbourne. So I came here as an international student to study. So I didn't have A levels, so I had to do a foundation course as a pathway to university. So I did that for a whole year, and I did my undergrad in a Bachelor of Social Work. And that was about 4 years. Then I went straight into working the following year. And I've been a social worker for like a couple of years. But I knew quite earlier on in my life when I was 18, not early on, like when I was 18, 17, 18, I knew I wanted to be a counselor. So I was going to do whatever I took to be a counselor. So I worked a little bit, ended up working as a counselor, and I quickly kind of knew that I was really way out of my depth in terms of what I thought counseling was all about. So I worked as a counselor for a little bit before I realized that I needed some more skills in terms of my counseling. And then I went back to uni, did my master's of counseling. I was exempted from other units from uni, so I was able to kind of fast track that master's, and I did my master's of counseling back again at the same university. And I went to the UK for a little bit, for about under a year, worked as a social worker, came back because I really loved counseling and went back into counseling. So I'm still working as a counselor, and 16 years later, I'm still based in Melbourne. So yeah, that's been kind of my journey in terms of from Zim to Melbourne.
Wow, that is so inspiring. And to think that, you came to Australia, you didn't have A levels, as you said, then you started a foundation course, and all the things that you have achieved academically. What kept you inspired? Like, did you have any big influences or anything that you really turned to keep motivating you through all of that?
I think what kept me inspired is, even though kind of the way my academic life was, there were so many hurdles. Like, I just didn't believe in myself. I just didn't even think I would end up being like in higher education at all, because I wasn't doing really well in high school. But I think it speaks a lot around the power of words. I remember when I was about 10, my grandfather was speaking to this man who was at UZ at that time, University of Zimbabwe. And my grandfather, I know, I was playing with my friends, but I could hear it in the background. And my grandfather was saying to this man, I believe so much in my granddaughter. I think she'll end up in university one day. And for me as a 10-year-old, I just didn't think I could be able to do that. I was like, what is this man on? Like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
And I think because I loved him so much and I trusted him as a person, I thought, if he believes that I can do it, I'm gonna keep pushing. Even when I started my foundation studies, I was like, I don't have A levels, because that's usually the pathway in Zimbabwe. You do your A levels, you go to university, and you do your A levels really well. So I studied so much. I kept pushing because I really wanted to be a counselor. No matter what it took, I was going to just do it. So I think even when I wanted to give up, I had so many kind of things in terms of my financial situation that could have just made me give up. But I think because I had a person who believed so much in me, I just kept pushing.
Wow, that's so inspiring. The power of words, and just having that figure in your life who you trusted as well. That makes such a big difference. That's so inspiring. So academically amazing. Well done to you. Going now into fitness, which is a really big part of what you do. So exercise, healthy eating is something that, a lot of the people who follow you on social media, they see that part of you. So in terms of exercise, when did you start?
I remember this day like it was yesterday. Like, I tried a few different kind of sports in high school, but I just was not a confident person when it came to any sport. Like, I tried volleyball, I tried netball. I sucked, literally sucked. So I remember that I was just tired of the way I felt about my body. I was just absolutely over it. And I remember I was driving from work. This is 2010. I remember it was yesterday. So it's been 10 years now. And I knew that there was a gym really right close to my workplace. And I remember just doing a 10 and going, let me just go and have a chat with them. Let's see how that goes. And I remember walking into the gym and saying I wanted to join as a member. And they're like, yep, sweet as. They showed me the gym. I was like, the gym looks fantastic. But I was petrified. There were all these machines that I'd never used before. So that's how I started my fitness. Joined the gym. And honestly, for the next 6 months of my life, all I did was sign in the gym, be on the treadmill for an hour, walk out. That's all I did. I did cardio because I was so scared to do anything else. Those machines are scary, y'all.
I know, especially when you don't know what to do and you think, if I ask, maybe I look silly, or there's all sorts of things going on in the mind, isn't there?
Absolutely. I was just like, there's no way. I was watching people as I was running on the treadmill. I was like, wow, I can see. But I was like, oh, it looks so easy when they're doing it, but I don't think I can. I didn't even know how to adjust the weights. I didn't even know how to, I just didn't want to look like an idiot. So I was like, nah, I'll stick to the treadmill.
Yeah.
So I really think I did that for about 6 months to almost a year, honestly.
Wow, yeah. And did you see any changes or anything that you thought, okay, maybe I'm getting there? Like, what was your thought process as you went through that journey in terms of looking at your body?
I saw changes in terms of my weight. My weight started dropping, like it was dropping, because clearly I was spending so much time on that bloody treadmill. I was on that treadmill for like almost an hour, like 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah,
So it was doing its yeah. So like I think honestly, I kept seeing the same person though, the same woman every time I looked in the mirror. The only time I would know that my body was changing was through like feedback from people. People are like, oh, are you doing something different? You look like you're losing weight. So, but every time I was in front of that mirror, I kept seeing the same woman who like pre-exercise, pre-gym membership.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I mean, as I said before, you've been, we met through my work and you've been on the Fitnesstoatee plans for a while. So guys, Brenda and I actually met at a dinner party. That's where we first met. And I gave her my business card. We talked about, I don't know what we talked about. Some, good conversation, gave her my business card. And then a few months later, she got in touch and she decided to come in for a consult. And then I took her through her first workout. And I thought, I don't know if this woman's going to come back, because it was hard. It was hard for you then. It would be very easy for you today. So that's how we actually met. So started off with a one-on-one training. Then I moved away and went to Aubrey. And that's when she went on to the online plan. So she's been on the online plan since 2015, I think it is. Is that right, Brenda?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So how has your exercise journey evolved over the years from, Brenda coming from Zimbabwe, going through your academics, joining the gym, going on to the Fitnesstoatee programs up till today, right now? In terms of physically, we'll start with physically first. We'll break it up.
Okay.
It's a big question.
All right. Yeah, I I think when I first started training with you, I hated it in the beginning. Like the first session was horrible.
Yes.
I remember when you were like, let's meet, and I think the things that you say to me over the text message was, eat before you come. I'm like, girl, I ran on the treadmill for an hour. You cannot tell me what to do. You cannot tell me to eat. I know what I'm doing. I am okay. And I think I had a banana or something, and I turned up to your workout, and it took me through like a couple of workouts, and you did a couple of reps,
I think.
and I ended up, guys, honestly, I ended up in a stinky toilet thinking I was going to throw up. And I remember thinking, crap, I'm going to die. I need to tell her to call the ambulance.
I know. And I was outside the door like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then the other trainers in the gym were like, T, what have you done now? Because I look so innocent and so harmless, honestly, when you look at me.
I know. And you were killing me. I remember walking out and thinking, my goodness, what have I been doing with my exercise this whole freaking time? So it's evolved. I think because I'm a person who loves documenting stuff, and I keep stuff on my phone, I've gone back to some of those videos, and I've thought, oh, okay, that's so easy. I can't believe that I used to struggle to do that. But it's my journey. That's where I was in terms of my physical fitness, and I was kicking ass back then, and I needed to go through that to get to a place where I am. Like, for example, if you think about the fact of how I started with my chin-ups, like, I was using bands and you were pulling me up. And now, like, I jump. I know.
Amazing.
And now I just jump on those chin-ups, and I'm like, doing them with no bands. So So it's evolved. It's evolved quite a bit, massively.
It's definitely evolved. And even the way you look, like, just looking at the physical side of things, you've really become so toned. You're 35. So, that's such a good progress. I'm so proud of you as a trainer as well. And
Thank
then
you.
in terms of emotions and your mentality over the years as you've evolved through your fitness journey, how has that changed?
It's been probably the hardest, I think, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to change the physical side, but it's so hard to change the mental side. So I think this has been the biggest part, like, of the fitness. Like, stuff the physical part, you can change it, you can keep working on it, you can keep strengthening your muscles, but as long as your kind of your mentality or the emotional side of things is not changed, you know, you almost haven't progressed as much. So in terms of my mentality, it's always evolving. You know, I would say, hand on my heart, I've had the most unhealthy relationship with my body for a very long time in the past. Not like, at this point, it's at a place where I'm comfortable with it, but it's not at a place where if I had a daughter, I would say this is where you need to be. Like, there's still more work to be done, but I'm comfortable. I'm content with where it is at, judging from where it was like a few years ago. So in terms of mentality, when I first started, you know, training as your client with Fitnesstoatee, I was determined to do whatever it takes to, like, exercise the crap out of my body, because I had, you know, I had demons that I wasn't facing, and I was going to face them through exercise. So I pretty much was really damaging my body, you know. And the irony of it is I was doing it all in the name of I'm exercising, because I didn't want to face my demons, you know. And I just kept getting injuries after injuries. If I tell you the amount of money that I spent going to a physio because I've been damaging my body, because instead of listening to my body and going, this weight is a bit too much, I'll be like, no, stuff it, I'm going to lift it because I want my body to do this. So I would say that I think at the beginning I was damaging my body than doing it any good. But I'm in a place where I can say I'm starting to really tune in and listen to my body a bit more. It's a long story, but I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
Yes, for sure. And it's a journey, you know. Fitness, it's not just, you know, you go in the gym, you transform yourself physically, and that's it. There's so much that goes into play, more emotionally and mentally. And I can totally relate to everything you're saying because I've watched you. And also just for myself, you know, a lot of people know that I've done bodybuilding, and I pretty much did the same thing. I was trying to change the physical to, you know, kind of help fix the emotional or the mental side. So I totally get where you're coming from. So at the moment, of course, we're going through, you know, we're going through a global crisis, really. How are you keeping healthy? I mean, even today, we were supposed to do the interview one-on-one together, but we can't. We're practicing social isolation. So, you know, doing it through video. Boom. Yay for
Yes.
technology. So what are you doing at the moment to stay healthy and fit?
You know, I think what I've done is, you know, I remember when I used to do like the one-on-one trainings with you, and it was such a struggle to transition into the online stuff because I kept thinking that I would fail my body and I wouldn't have you to show me the technique and blah, blah, blah. And so now I've transitioned to the home workouts. And even that, we had a conversation because I thought to myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep the same kind of fitness with home workouts, because honestly, I have like 2 dumbbells that are 4 kilos and I've got my furniture and that's it. And you're like, no, I'll sort you out. And it's like, as if, what do you mean you sort me out? You cannot be the gym. So, you know, it's really sad on so many levels around what's happening, you know, with the coronavirus. And but I think it's really important for us to kind of stay home and self-isolate and, you know, try and flatten like the curve and make sure we're protecting each other. And what I found being at home is I'm just really quite mindful of, you know, or not mindful is the right word. I think I'm just really you know, looking at things in a very different perspective, in the sense that there's so many things that I used to take for granted, like getting into the car and going to the gym. I can't do that anymore. But I'm being so, you know, appreciative of kind of the small space that I have now and the little resources that I have. And what I'm doing just on a kind of on a mental health perspective is I am doing the workouts and I'm doing the walk as well, because I feel like, you know, we're allowed to go outside for a walk as long as you're socially distancing. So I'm doing the walk as well. So I'm walking 30 minutes. And prior to, you know, the coronavirus stuff, I used to hate walking. I hate walking.
Yes,
and people didn't understand.
Yeah.
People didn't understand why I hated walking when I love exercise so much. I think it's because I like, there's something about walking that gets you to be mindful, and I didn't want to be as mindful because I didn't want to be with my thoughts. So I was like, no, stop it, you know. So I've been walking a bit more, so which is interesting and exciting and whatnot. So yes, I've been keeping up with my exercise with home workouts. It doesn't have the same vibe, of course, with seeing people and kind of getting some of the energy from people working in the gym. But you know, this is what we're dealing with at the moment. So I have to make it work.
Yeah, you have to. That's true. And I think with the walking, I remember you even saying, oh gosh, when I used to walk before the coronavirus, you'd be like, oh man, I don't even like walking. You walk. It's like, yeah, I think now, yes, this is a crisis, but we're also really being more aware of how we're feeling. That it's really forced us to kind of stop and do that as well, and find a way that works for us. And then I'll go on to your work as a counselor. So you've been a counselor for 11 years, very experienced in your field. So can you tell us a bit more? You're welcome. Can you tell us a bit more about the work that you do?
So in the 11 years that I've practiced as a social worker, I haven't always been a counselor. It's very difficult, you know, all my social workers out there, whoop, whoop, you would relate. It's really difficult to be taken seriously as a counselor when you've got a social work background compared to someone who actually has a psychology background. Right. So my background is in social work, and for me, it's been extremely really hard to get into counseling in that way. Like, for example, going to the UK and working as a social worker and telling people that I actually used to work as a counselor in Australia, they're like, how, as a social worker? That's like impossible, because the requirements there are very different to here. Yes. So my journey to counseling didn't start 11 years ago. It started in 2013 when, unfortunately, a woman in Melbourne was on her way to work and was sexually assaulted and kind of murdered. And she was murdered. It's really sad. So the government injected some money into a service, a sexual assault service in Melbourne. And thank God, I was very fortunate enough to get that job, but it was a short-term contract. So that's how I ended up becoming a counselor. So when I think about counseling, the way it started was working in, in sexual assault. A bulk of my work as a counselor has been working as a sexual assault counselor. So my title was counselor advocate, because I had to advocate quite a lot for women, because a lot of women and men, let me make it clear, because I did have men that were clients as well. So that's how I started as a counselor. And I found that a majority of the clients that I had were people that had experienced sexual assault or sexual abuse as children rather than adults. Yes, it does happen in adulthood. I don't want to dismiss that. And that's how I started my work as a counselor. And the honest truth is, you can do that work, but it starts changing the way you view the world. And I did it for 5 years. And honestly, I thought I'd seen life. I thought I had life experience. Also, my passion for this work is not purely on a professional level. My passion for this work is on a personal level, because I have my own history. you know, in childhood, I have my own history as a child having experienced the same thing. So I was determined, and I had no one to talk to. So I was determined, you know, to make sure that people don't walk this journey on their own. They have someone to talk to. So after 5 years, I made a decision that I felt like I wasn't being as authentic with my clients. Not as authentic, but I felt really bent out, because I was like, I cannot keep seeing someone else's experience. This is too much. And I want to be present with my clients, body, mind, and soul. And I was starting to not be like that. So I made a decision to move away. And I'm currently, employed as a counselor in at a university, working with students, and I love it, and it's still, you know, it's rewarding. And one thing I should mention is, just because I work in tertiary doesn't mean I'm not doing the sexual assault counseling, because sexual assault is everywhere. So I'm still doing it, but not in one session after another. So that's been pretty much my journey in terms of counseling.
Wow, that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing, you know, some of your personal story as well, that, you know, you've also experienced something similar. So trauma in your childhood, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of your work, like, you know, with counseling people who've gone through traumatic experiences, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to just pause and say, can you give us a definition of trauma? Because trauma is often just thrown around and some people don't really understand it. So if we can break it down, then we'll carry on with the rest of the question.
And, you know, thank you for asking that question, because I think, yes, it gets thrown around, but it doesn't. I feel like the reason why it feels like it's thrown around is people don't understand the magnitude of, you know, of trauma. Like, it's huge. You know, if in terms of the statistics are just, they're just not good. Like, so many people have experienced trauma. So I'll keep it like the simple version of, because there's so many different versions of it. For me, the way I think of like trauma is any event that's been quite distressing, whether it's happened personally to you or you've witnessed it, and that has impacted the way you cope with life, or the way you view life, or the way you build relationships, the way you connect with others, the way you connect with yourself. Any event, whether it's a once-off or whether it's over a number of years, is trauma. You know, whether you've been emotionally abused by a partner, financially abused by a partner, physically abused by a partner, someone has you know, touched you on your bum without your consent, anything that you've not wanted to happen to you, I will still classify. There's so many other layers, you know. There are people with so much knowledge that are probably watching this that would add onto it or would have a different view, but that is my understanding of what trauma is.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you've made it really simple so that, you know, a lot of us can understand. And I'm sure, of course, there's more explanation, but thank you. And so in terms of your work, you know, having counseled, I'm going to focus on women because my work is mainly to do with women. And I really want women out there who are listening to glean a bit more in counseling women who've been through traumatic experiences. You know, how have you what have you learned about how women who've been through traumatic experiences can then learn to embrace and love their bodies after they've been through experiences, for example, sexual assault?
What I've learned, first of all, is women are power to you. They're so strong, and the fact that, you know, you're still here, you're still surviving, you know, you are strong. That's not disregarding people that are not here, you know. Everyone's got a different journey. The fact that you are still alive and you're still here and you're still pushing through depression, pushing through anxiety, pushing through the bloody flashbacks, pushing through the nightmares, because all of those things happen in the body. So the body is the site of the trauma. You know, just like in a criminal, like anything to do with crime, they tell you that this is the site of where the crime happened. This is the site of where the trauma happens. you know.
Yes.
So no wonder why women struggle with their bodies, is particularly the ones that have experienced, you know, trauma, because you hold the trauma in, you know, in your body. And what I know in terms of the psychology around trauma is where your memories of trauma are stored in the part of the brain so different to your everyday kind of functioning. So we hold stuff without even realizing, in our postures, in the way we eat, in the way we carry ourselves. Like, I was bullied quite a lot in high school, you know, even in primary school. So I had a tendency to walk with my head down, and it's only now that I'm starting to straighten my face and just really embrace my body. So that's been my journey. But also now what's happened is I've had to learn to love my body, like one body part at a time. So sometimes I make a conscious decision in the morning and I'm like, I've got beautiful arms, or I've got I've got beautiful whatever, you know, but I also still face those demons, because at the end of the day, you know, the trauma happened to my body. So at the beginning of my journey, I think I wanted to work out so much, so I didn't then present as a damaged body, but as this fine goddess, so that no one else would know that stuff had happened to me. So what I would say to women is just take your journey one day at a time, one emotion at a time. And when you do experience certain emotions, just observe them. They are not you. They might be an old story or a trigger. Just observe them. They're not you.
Wow, thank you for that, Brenda. I think all of us can see why you're such a good counselor. I'm like so into what you're saying. And you've also recently become an author. Well done. Congratulations. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So can you tell us a bit more about your book? Show us the cover. What is it called? What is it about?
Exciting. It's what a journey. So this journey started in 2018. So this is the book here. This is the book. So it's called Intersecting Stories, Narrative Therapy, Reflections on Gender and Culture and Justice. Can I just say, so we had an Aboriginal woman, because in Australia we are in Aboriginal land. We had an Aboriginal woman do kind of the introduction at the beginning. And then we had about 5 other authors. So there are different chapters. So I didn't do the whole book, but I'm a part of the authors that kind of contributed to the book. And I'll just talk a little bit more about, you know, the chapter that I co-wrote, because I wrote it with a former colleague who's now a friend. So pretty much it started as a project. I never even thought it would end up being a chapter in a book. It started as a project because I think what was happening is, you know, in the sexual assault sector and in family violence as well, we talk about violence, you know, we prioritize, you know, the women that have experienced, you know, sexual assault, family violence in all its different forms. But what was missing was the, you know, talking and focusing on racism that was being experienced by counselors working in that sector. So it's really hard as a counselor and as a woman, like as a Black African counselor and other women of color, that we didn't have a voice to say we are also experiencing a form of violence in terms of racism. So that was the gap. I'm sure there's some work that's been done. I know in America there's a lot of work that's done around racism. I don't think it's done as much in Australia anyway at the moment. So there was a gap in that. And so the chapter was around talking about racism and white privilege. You know, sorry for my white listeners that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it is really important to talk about privilege. I've got my own privilege even as an African person, but that's not what I'm talking about. Like as an African person who's educated and women who's got all these platforms that I'm able to have a voice. But we're talking about kind of white privilege and racism. So that's pretty much the chapter. And I was talking about my experiences of racism working as a, you know, as a counselor and mostly it talks about the subtle things that you cannot call out. For example, when I was working as a sexual assault counselor, I had so many clients sometimes who would either comment on my, on my accent, or would comment on, things, not comment, they would ask questions. They'll ask me questions about qualifications, because for some reason they doubted that I had the ability to help them through that journey. And so every time I would have a conversation with a colleague and say, I feel like this is racism, the fact that this person is asking me about my qualifications, or the fact that someone sees me and says, you don't look like how you sounded over the phone. And I had so many colleagues, bless them, like beautiful people, dismiss that and like, no, that's not racism, because they were seeing it from a white lens. But then I started saying, but are you being asked about your qualifications? And they'll say no. I'm like, there you go. I'm being asked because I'm Black. You're not being asked because you're white, and they automatically trust that you're qualified. So I felt like I was working extra hard within a workplace purely because of my color. Let's just put it that way, purely because of my color. So I'm really passionate about this, and I talk about it so much, even in my current workplace. I'm so blessed that I'm in a workplace that allow me to even have that conversation. And I presented at a tertiary conference for tertiary education last year around decolonizing therapy. So there's more for me to write on. So watch the space.
Yes, definitely watch the space. Wow, there's so much there, and it's so good because you're speaking in a country where I would still say that Australia is pretty new. It's still growing, and for you to be able to talk about those issues now is just key and fundamental. And those issues are not just happening in your field; they're happening all across, all fields. So the people listening today, a lot of them will be like, "Oh yes, that happened to me. That exactly, someone's commented." Even for myself as a personal trainer, I've had to work extra hard sometimes to prove that I knew. So we totally get that. So thank you for sharing. So in terms of your book, where can we get a copy?
So at the moment, we are working towards getting it on Amazon. It hasn't happened. But if you want to buy a book, because it was edited by Dulwich Center for my therapy lovers or people that are, into therapeutic work out there. It is published by Dulwich Center, which does narrative therapy. And narrative, the guru of narrative therapy was Michael White, who has since passed on. But that's where you can actually get it. So you can email them, at dulwich.center at I think it's Dulwich Center.
Yes.
Oh, I've gone.
Can you even put we can even put it on the comments, like under this video. We'll put it there as well in case anyone wants to email.
Absolutely. I've gone all blank. Oh no, here we go. The email is Dulwich at dulwichcenter.com.au. So you can contact them. They're very responsive and request to have a copy, but it's we're working on getting it on Amazon. It'll be on Amazon soonish. So, which is pretty exciting.
That's very exciting. Congratulations to you and all the people who contributed to the book as well.
Amazing. Some amazing women.
And I had one question. How do you spell Dulwich?
Dulwich.
Just
like that.
Just like
I'm
that.
Kidding.
Okay. Bad joke.
Just like that. DULWICH.
Okay, great. I'll put that under the video. Thank you for that. So you are 35. You're going to be 36 soonish. What? I can't even believe it. Looking amazing. So I'm sure people are looking at you and thinking, do you even need to exercise? Like, do you even have any more goals? Do you have any more goals for your fitness or your health?
Yes. Look at those guns.
Guns.
For days. Of course, I need to exercise for so many reasons. For myself, I actually come from a family that is riddled with chronic health issues. So that's part of the reason why I exercise. My maternal side, there's quite a lot of issues in terms of diabetes and high blood pressure, and even from my paternal side, it's the same thing. So for that reason, I would like to I love exercising. It's just a part of me. It gives me structure, it gives me routine, and it helps me a lot with my my mental health as well, just to keep my mental health in check. So my goal is to maintain this for a very long time. That's my goal now, in terms of how my body looks. I feel like I'm at a place where I feel okay. I feel okay with my size. I don't want to lose any more weight. I just want to maintain. So maintaining. Yeah.
And that's where I am. Place to be. That's a good place to be. And it's really coming across that you're very accepting of your body as well, embracing it as it is. So that's very, very positive. And then also food, I just wanted to touch on food a little bit, your relationship with food, just from the past and to now, just a little bit of a snippet of any changes or anything you want to encourage the listener.
Yeah. So when I started this journey, I exercised, but I didn't change the way I was eating at the beginning. Not at all. I'd eat the same. I just had no education. No one had provided me education around food and nutrition. Now, not just food. I think food is food. We can eat all sorts of things. I think there's so many things, back in Zimbabwe that I think they're so nutritious, like sadarejo, there's so many, benefits from eating that, and murivo and all of that. Most of our food is so organic, but I just don't think we had a lot of education around, food. So I've really kind of changed the way I look at food, not just based on, because I don't, I think everyone's got a different journey. I never want to be disrespectful of people's journeys, but I don't calorie count. I don't skip meals. Way back before I had the education that I have now about food, I would skip meals. I want to lose weight, and I'll calorie count and starve myself. But prior to that, I was eating gomvororo of food, like mountain of rice up to here, mountain of bread up to here, to a point where my belly ached so much. But I think now I eat regular meals. But the other thing that I do everything with intention. So the minute I put things on my plate and the minute I put it in my mouth, I always ask myself whether that food is going to fuel me or is going to hinder the way I function. It's the same way with cars. You put a certain grade of fuel in your car so that your car moves slowly, or moves smoothly, or so that the engine functions a bit better. It's the same way I think about food. So am I putting really high grade food in my mouth to make my body function, not just my body in the physical, the way I move, but my mental health as well? Because I know when sometimes I've really ate really bad and I've enjoyed too many glasses of wine or whatever, the following day I'm like, ugh. I'm sluggish and I'm in a bad mood, and I'm feeling a bit flat, and I know I'm not going to be at my peak in terms of how I function. So that's how I see food.
Yeah, as your fuel, really. And I relate to that too, because I know for some days where I think, oh gosh, today I'm feeling a little bit anxious, I know, okay, I shouldn't have any coffee, because then that's just going to exacerbate that feeling.
Exactly.
But just checking where you are and then matching your fuel with that as well.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Brenda, you're such an inspiring, strong, accomplished woman, and we're so honored to have had you on the show. Do you have any more words of encouragement for people out there who are watching the show in terms of their health journey or even life journey in achieving things? I mean, you've come from, not thinking that you would get where you are. How do you have any words of inspiration, basically?
Thank you. That's such a good question, and a good question which is very hard to kind of respond to. So in
We need a
terms,
book. We need you to write a book.
oh yes, it is coming. Trust me,
Yes.
the book is coming. It's gonna be juicy. It's gonna have all sorts of goss, and it's gonna be yeah, everything. Indaba zami zonke. Indaba zami everything. You know, it's gonna be like goss, whatever you call it. Auntie Rhoda.
Oh, Auntie Rhoda. Oh my gosh, God bless her cotton socks.
Okay, so back to business.
Yeah, on a serious note.
So honestly, I think that if someone is watching this show and they care about their fitness, they care about their health, like full stop. Even if you're not where you want to be, the fact that you are, you know, you're trying, like, keep going, because you cannot come from a place of, you know, crawling to running a marathon. It doesn't work like that. You then have to walk, and you then have to wobble a bit, and all of those things. So the way, my advice would be, take each day as it comes. Even if you do one thing for yourself and going, oh, okay, today I've ate really healthy. Oh, today I've said something positive about myself. I'm really all about the internal work. Like, yes, the external is, yes, it's important. Yes, you know, who am I to say it's not important when I'm showing my guns or whatever? But the internal work is what's going to keep you going. The work that you do for yourself. You know, you are not your trauma. You're not your past experience. Yes, it's you know, it's damaged you. It's made you see the world differently. Yes, I do get that. But, you know, self-compassion, you need to be very compassionate to yourself. You need to be gentle with yourself, even when you have that block of chocolate that you didn't intend to have. You know, you know, it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
You start afresh, you know. So it's the relationship that you have with food is important. The relationship that you have with your body is really quite, keep pushing. That's all I can say. Keep pushing, but compassion. I cannot emphasize this more. Compassion. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Compassion and keep pushing. It's like balancing it, isn't it, really?
100%. And and in terms of career, smile. I know this is ridiculous. Smile and network and build relationships. Honestly, the only reason why I am on, you know, this book is because I always make sure that I stop and have conversations with people. I always make sure that I know people's names. I always make sure that they know my name. And that's why this woman came back to me and said, I want to do a project with you. I want you to write the introduction and the conclusion. I want you to talk about your experience because you've got something to say. It's because I had coffee with her. I had conversations with her, you know, and I challenged her because the other thing I forgot to mention, the co-author of that chapter was ironically a white woman. So we had very interesting conversation, but respectful conversation. But I called her out on stuff as well. And she was very open to it. So in terms of career, have a vision board, think it, put it out there. Don't then try and figure it out how everything is going to play out. Because honestly, from where I was in Zim, growing up in high school, this is nowhere I thought where I would be. And it's not even, it's like a snippet. It's big, but it's not yet huge. And so I'm grateful for where I am. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, wow. It's such an inspiring journey, and we'll be watching as you continue on your journey as well. And for those people who want to follow you and just, you know, see your progress, keep being inspired, where can they follow you on social media if you want to share?
So this is the embarrassing bit. I don't have a lot of social media stuff, and I've got like 2 followers on Instagram. Yeah. And I don't even have Facebook. So I need to get on Facebook. I need to get back on Facebook.
Well,
I used to
not really. It's still the same. I don't think it's changed, but
I haven't had Facebook like for years. I used to have it. It's really good to connect with people and stuff. But I think that was also part of my journey. I kept comparing myself to other people on social media, so I had to take a break from it. because then
Yeah.
I was telling myself off around why my body wasn't doing what other people's bodies were doing. So
Yeah.
I needed to check myself before I wreck myself. So I'm on Instagram. My Insta handle is Uyisimanga84. So UYISIMANGA 84, and boom, you'll find me there.
Wonderful. And can I put that under the comments as well, just so people can follow you on that?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. And I guess, yeah, I mean, Facebook is a good place to connect. So connection,
Yes.
especially in this time as well.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing all the things that you did with us, inspiring us as well. And we're really grateful to have had you here. So guys, you've heard the story snippets of, a very inspirational story. Thank you so much for watching the show today. The Fitnesstoatee show will be back again in another fortnight with another topic, probably exercise-based, but I'll be posting that later on. But for this weekend, make sure you stay safe, stay healthy, stay home, and protect yourselves and your families as well. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next show. And Brenda, I'll let you say goodbye to everybody as well.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for taking time to listen to what I have to say. And thanks, Fitnesstoatee Teurai Chanakira, for having me here, Boo Boo. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, see you in the next show, guys. Bye.
Bye.